financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is a good one. Well, they're always good. Starting a new business is the topic of the day. Brian Small, good morning.
It's headed towards a new year, so why not start a new business? Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Linden, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Pat Simasco.
Hi, how are you?
Good. All right, so today's topic. All right. Starting a new business, I want to kind of approach it from this standpoint. I wanted to do a show where we can convey the information that you don't necessarily always get, but that you really need to know. This is the information that I convey to a client when I'm meeting with them because it's the important stuff. It's not the gloss, it's the guts is what you're really going to get to. So I want to start off with this one. 3 things you can't imagine and don't like to hear when you're thinking about starting a new business. Number 1, most businesses do not succeed. Number 2, these are 2 and 3 are Ken originals, and these are my favorites. If you have partners and things go well, someone will ultimately make a grab for the chips. Next point, if you have partners and things go poorly, somebody will ultimately make a grab for the chips.
It's a
Amen to that.
It's a Gordon Gekko comment.
Oh my God.
Greed is good.
It's
Greed is
just my observation after 40 years of doing this. It is what it is.
Does it
and
matter
that
if
happens on a continuous basis.
Does it matter if it's family?
It
They're your
does not.
partners?
It's worse
worse.
if
It's worse
it's
when it's
family.
family.
Or the answer is it doesn't matter. Family does not pull together when things go bad. Family does not pull together when things go great. I mean, it's just like that. That's
We see
how
it all
is.
the time with just owning the cottage together with family. Oh, it's a nightmare. So whether it's a business or a joint ownership or on anything.
I mean, parent-child tends to be a better bond than siblings. Because sibling rivalry starts when they're children, and it tends to continue.
You're right,
on.
because dad is always
getting more of the banana chips.
The dad's always the boss, and they always look at the dad, even if it's a 50-50 partnership, dad's the boss, and he's the boss. And
Do any of you guys watch Succession on HBO?
No.
If you want to talk about family insanity in a business, that's the show to watch.
Oh, just come to my office.
I just started watching it. I just started watching it about a month ago, so I'm just finishing the first season. And there's several. I don't know if they're in season 3 or 4 what they're in, but it is insane what goes on in this family, and it's big, big business, big family business. But so the point of that point is this: if you have partners, you need an agreement to define the relationship to protect the partners going in.
Well,
That's one.
But wait, when you're going, the reality is when you open up a business, when you're going into business with someone, you're not thinking about the fact that it could fail, B, that you could get into a huge argument with your business partners.
Right.
That's
the point of why I.
No, I'm just saying, but that's what.
Yeah.
You've got to
You need to
address that at the beginning regardless.
In certain circumstances, you do. All right, so let's talk about things. Are you going it alone, or are you going to have partners? Because I just gave you the beginning. If you're going it alone, you don't have to worry about making a grab for the chips because they're all your chips. Okay. But if you have partners, now let's talk about the situation. First, oftentimes, married couple comes in and they're starting a business. So the thought process is they both are going to be equal partners. Well, that's fine, But when it comes to planning the business and structuring things, my advice is typically you don't need to make both of you the owners. Owning a business does create risk. If the business doesn't go well, sometimes you run into tax problems because even though you know you should pay the payroll taxes, you don't. You don't want to impose those risks on both spouses. You only want to impose it on one. You can still run the business together. If you get divorced, each side has a 50-50 stake in each other's assets anyways. You just don't need to paper both names onto it. So family businesses, husband and wife, you should only put one of the spouses out there as the owner. That's my general thing, because you want to limit exposure. So let's talk about exposure. The goal when you start a business is you want to limit your liability exposure to the capital that you invest in the business to start it. If the business goes south, you don't want to be liable for the debts of the business beyond the money that you initially invested. That's the goal. Very easy to say. If you pick up any book on it, any article in the internet written by the most brilliant person,
Cant
the
Gross.
biggest ignoramus is going to say that.
Right,
You want to
so-
limit your liability. Were we talking about brilliant or were we talking the ignoramus?
You guys decide.
Well, you got it in.
guys
You got it in.
You
on
guys
the,
decide.
you got it in on
You
the,
guys
on the
decide.
brilliant side. So you're good there, Brian. You're turning.
We're going to have a chat.
You're turning the same color as your shirt. But it's easy to say, but it's not always easy to do. So the first analysis that you have to go there is, what type of entity do I choose? Now, if you're in business by yourself and you're not a corporation, you're not an LLC, you're just a sole proprietor, that's the dumbest thing in the world to do, because you're automatically liable for all the debts of the business no matter what, because there's no separate person.
You are the business.
You are the person.
There's no difference.
If you're a partnership, not a limited partnership, not an LLC, not a corporation, then both partners are liable for all the debts of the business. So, to wrap this segment up real quickly, what do you think my advice would be as to being a sole proprietor or a partnership?
Don't.
Don't would be one word. What else?
Never.
Never. Anyone else? Don't, never. No way, Jose. We'll take a break. We'll be back after the break.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, so sole proprietorship, general partnership, never, because there's unlimited liability for the owners. So you don't even have to talk about it. You don't have to think about it. So that leaves you with...
But you know, the funny thing is there's so many people out there that do have that, and they don't even realize the exposure they put themselves in. The landlord, the guy who buys rental property, and he owns all these rental properties in his own name. And sure enough,
foolish.
it is foolish. And then
he thinks he's protected with insurance.
Right.
And he is
to an
the
extent.
extent that the insurance is in force and it has coverage and the insurance company pays rather than defending. The only problem with the insurance industry is there's a certain segment of it that is in the business of accepting premium and denying claims.
Yep.
So you have to be
You
careful.
better watch out, though, because people that come in that have the LLC or the corporation that think they have this magical shield of protection, they also have to realize that if they do get sued, they're paying attorney fees out of their own pocket. And a lot of times the attorney fees defending those cases are way higher than what they could have settled for. That's why you need the insurance to make sure you have
you
the
have to have the
defense.
You have to have the
Yeah.
insurance,
You have to have the
certainly.
insurance.
But a great example, if you have 4 rental properties, they each should be in their own LLC or their own corporate entity of some sort. You shouldn't put them all in
how
one.
many clients, or how many people do you, not clients, how many people do you see that come in with that LLC that actually follow the corporate requirements?
That's a different issue.
Good question. All right, well,
Few.
following
Very
corporate
few.
requirements,
And
first
far
of all,
between.
corporate requirements are greater if you form a corporation versus an LLC. But let's talk about entity choices, okay? So because that's what we're on, is your options for limited liability are a corporation or a limited liability company. If you're a corporation, you have stockholders that own stock in the company. Characteristics are, if you're going to distribute money based upon stock ownership on the sale of the business or something like that, it has to be proportionate to the stock that is owned. You have some corporate formalities that have to be followed. You need minutes, bylaws, stock certificates. You're supposed to have annual meetings electing your board of directors. If you get into a lawsuit, the aggressive attorney suing the company wants to argue you didn't follow corporate formalities, you're therefore personally liable on the debt. When I take on a case and I'm suing someone and I'm worrying about collectability of the corporation, I look to suing the owners and I argue alter ego. You didn't follow the proper corporate formalities. I'm going to pierce the corporate veil and go after your gut.
You mean that $35 filing fee didn't protect them from all that?
Just on the annual report?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you need
right.
to have that
You
minute
gotta
book. You
do
need to
it.
keep those records. So that's the corporation. But the benefit of the corporation is, unless you've agreed to be liable for the debt of the company, you're not. Limited liability company is another method of accomplishing the same thing. There's some benefits there. When you distribute the money, you can define who gets what based upon your agreement. It doesn't have to be in the percentage ownership of stock. So you can say, if I sell the company, partner A gets an extra $100,000 off the top, and then B, C, and D split. You can define it any way you want. Instead of having the corporate formalities of a minute book, stock certificates, bylaws, it's one document, basically an operating agreement that you must have that defines the rights of the parties.
But wait. You can go ahead and people form their own LLC all the time. That doesn't come with an operating agreement, though, does it?
If you have more than one member, that's what you call an owner of an LLC, you're required to have an operating agreement. If you have only one, you don't really need one in Michigan. But if you don't have an operating agreement and you have more than one, you're in a kind of in a state of ozone as to what the law really says. What courts do is they follow general partnership rules, making you equal owners and define it that way. But it's a mistake. And go back to the whole thing of, if you have partners, you need to define rights. So that goes to the next issue.
Well,
if you have 2 partners versus 3, what are you going to say, Jeff?
I was going to say, we get clients all the time that is, oh, I have an LLC, and they have questions, whether it's liability, litigation, tax debt, something. And I'll always ask, can I see a copy of your operating agreement?
What's that?
What's that? And most people who just go out and pay their
$50 to file the articles of
they don't get an operating agreement because they do it themselves, or their accountant does it, or their insurance broker, or whatever.
Right.
And they don't have it, and they don't realize that even for a single member LLC, that document is looked to, because if you don't have something that says you're supposed to do this way, like what an operating agreement does, and you might want to explain that, that's an opportunity for litigation to get pierced and have personal liability.
But here's the big issue, okay? If you've got 2 partners and you're 50-50, you don't have to worry that much about defining your rights, because as 50-50, there's always veto power. You can't do anything without a majority vote under the general rule. And if one guy says no, one guy says yes, you don't go anywhere. So you have an automatic method of protecting yourself in some respects. As soon as you have 3 partners, you have a whole different ballgame right off the bat, because 2 votes one way, 1 votes the other. The one who's the odd man out or the odd woman out is not going to be happy. Then that operating agreement or that shareholder agreement becomes critically important. If you have 2 partners, the operating agreement or a shareholder agreement is important because of one key concept. If one partner dies, generally speaking, the surviving partner does not want to become partner with the deceased partner's spouse. And that's where we have what's called a buy-sell agreement that covers that issue of, if one partner dies, it creates an opportunity for the other partner to buy out the estate and continue running the business without being married to their former partner's spouse.
And that's where I usually come in. I do the life insurance, because where do you come up with the money to pay for it? Life insurance.
Which is good on death. But so you run into other issues with that. We'll take a break. We'll keep on going with choice of entity.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Will I outlive my money?
Medicaid is so confusing.
A will, or do I need a trust?
What if Mom needs to go in a nursing home?
At Samasco Law, we have the answers to all of these questions. Our attorneys will eliminate the confusion and develop a plan that's right for you. We are dedicated to veterans benefits, assisted living, and nursing home care. Samasco Law can help prepare you for a long future. Call Samasco Law today.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation via teleconference, in office. You know, we're COVID smart, but we can do it in the office, or we can do it through Zoom or on the telephone, whatever makes you most comfortable. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. We cover debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff. Again, just sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Also, go online for our free reports, Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Ken Gross and Jeff Linden, Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan, and The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasko. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasko Law, and Kirshner Law. Now, back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
You're all set to retire. You have your home paid off, money in the bank, and sound investments. But if you're not careful, all the things that you work so hard for can disappear. At Simasko Financial, we'll help you prevent that. We go beyond ordinary asset management. We'll safeguard everything that you have by creating a plan made specifically for you. How much can you afford to lose? Nothing. Protect the people that you love and the things that you have. Call Simasko Financial today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we've been talking about the choice of entity. There's also a tax aspect of it that's critically important, and it's, do you want to be taxed at the business level, or do you want the tax to flow through to the owners at the ownership level, which we call a pass-through election? If you're a corporation, you have a choice. You can file a sub-S election, and then instead of the corporation paying its own tax, the owners pay the tax pro rata based upon their ownership. That's kind of the common step to make if you're operating a closely held small business. You want the tax at the owner level, not at the corporate level, for the reason that if you sell the company, you avoid a double tax. If the corporation's paying tax and sells its assets, it pays a corporate level tax, 21% right now, subject to going up if the tax law changes. And then when it distributes the assets to the owners, they then pay capital gain on the disposition of their stock. That becomes a double taxation. If you're a pass-through entity, you only pay the tax once.
Then why would anyone ever choose the entity that allows for a double taxation?
Because sometimes you're in a business that you don't have that you don't anticipate selling. A service company that you don't see it happening, and there can be some strategic advantages to leaving the money in the company, paying a 21% tax rather than taking the money personally. And if you have a corporate entity that you sell, if it's something that you could sell the stock in, rather than selling the assets, then you don't have that double tax. You only have a double tax if you sell the assets of the company.
Can I just, on the retirement planning side, because we'd like to talk about that too, whatever you do, make sure you set up some way that you're actually paying into Social Security, because a lot of these self-employed people, they can figure out a way that their income is low and they're not paying into Social Security, which means when you retire, you don't have any Social Security.
When people
that's a
take
great
too much
point.
of a dividend and they don't take
They
any
form-
salary or income.
They form a sub-S
pay
corp
that
or an
bill.
LLC with a sub-S election, and they take all the income as distribution, and they take no wages, and they take and they pay no self-employment tax on it. Number one, it's a very hot red flag to IRS to be audited, and number two, I completely agree with you, Pat. This concept of saving payroll taxes and paying in no payroll taxes, that's the same as, from a standpoint of retirement, is working under the table for cash.
Right.
All of a sudden you get to be 70 or 66 and a half and you want to draw Social Security, you get nothing.
Or if you talk to Jeff about that when on Social Security disability, if you fall off that ladder and you haven't paid into Social Security, you don't get a benefit.
Yeah,
Right.
You
yeah.
get nothing.
That's another disaster. We're running short of time, and there was a couple other topics that I kind of wanted to get to. And I want to throw out an important one, is the lease when you're entering into a new business. Two things. People think the lease, the operating agreement, employment agreements, they have this idea that these are standard forms because someone hands it to you in small font, 11-point font, and it looks like it's the same document, so you just sign it. These are extremely important documents that are to be negotiated. Employment agreements have restrictive covenants in them that you need to fight if you're on the employee's side. If you're the employer, you want them to protect you. Leases have issues as to guarantees. They have issues as to who's responsible for repair and maintenance of the equipment when it goes down. What about the default provision? Some leases say that if you default more than 2 times, the landlord can terminate the lease on 30 days' notice. You need to read those documents carefully. You should never just sign them. Operating agreement. Operating agreement might say that Bill is the manager and has complete control, and the limited members have no vote at all except on the sale of the company. And you just go ahead and sign it, and all of a sudden Bill's your master. You got to be very careful about those things. And people tend to just, oh, this is a form document, I'll sign it.
It'll never happen to me. Oh, we don't have to worry about that.
You got to be careful. Remember what we said about the chips.
It's planning for your ultimate divorce. You're planning for a divorce.
Absolutely. And it's
businesses
don't
a
last
business
forever.
prenup.
It is.
It is a business
absolutely
prenup.
is. Yeah.
Right.
That's a wrap. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality. Thanks for tuning in.